Hello, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick sound check. Okay, Rep. Aniskovich, if you could come on the screen for a minute. Rep. Aniskovich, what hearing room are you looking at when you look at your Zoom screen?
What am I looking at?
That's not our committee, correct? Rep. Aniskovich, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. The room that you're looking at on your Zoom screen is not our hearing room, correct?
No.
Okay, let me see if I can get something done. Thank you. And you can hear us fine, and Anuma, you can hear him fine?
Yep.
Okay, I believe we're correct now. Rep. Aniskovich, are you seeing Rep. Meskers on the screen?
Of all the people you had to pick, it was Meskers. I cannot see Rep Meskers.
Rep. Meskers, can you hear us? Hi, Casey.
Can you see me now?
I can see you. I just want to make sure that the other
No, I
viewers
know.
can see you as
Chris,
well.
can you see me when I'm speaking? Do it's drag
No,
to
I
me?
can't see you when you're speaking.
Really? Because right now you can't see me.
No.
Okay, I can't answer that. It's
Hold
beyond
on
my
one
pay grade,
second.
Chris.
Oh, I can see him on the screen now. Yes, now I got him.
Okay,
Yep.
Now you're on.
perfect.
Good, perfect. You can look at my face when you have your as you're having your coffee offline there,
How lucky am I?
and we're broadcasting live. Just so you be careful.
I'll be nice.
Yes. No, I mean we're currently broadcasting. Just so you know. Good morning, everyone. I want to convene our public hearing today for Tuesday, the 24th, for Commerce. We have 3 bills that we'll be taking up today, and we have a list of speakers. Yes, I can see. Thank you for setting me up. I believe our first, I don't know, my co-chair, do you have any comments?
No, good to go.
Okay, good to go. The first speaker of the day is Daniel O'Keefe, the Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development for the public. That is essentially what I refer to as our business czar, in charge with fomenting and supporting business development in the state. Take it away, Daniel. Thank you, sir, Commissioner.
Of course. No, great to see you all. Thank you for taking the time. And by the way, thank you for accommodating me and sorry to not be there in person, accommodating in terms of timing. So as you mentioned, I serve as Commissioner of Economic Development. I hadn't heard business czar before, although I know in state government, often there are many titles, so I appreciate the new one. And also serve as the Chief Innovation Officer. So we are focused on supporting our economy, both in terms of its continued vibrancy and development, but also our communities. We've raised our bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it. But I don't have further remarks beyond that, other than to say that the economy is doing well right now. 4th fastest growing economy in the country. That's on the heels of being the 9th fastest the prior quarter. So we're seeing not only extremely strong relative performance, but also acceleration. So it's that makes the job a little bit easier.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I know that part of what we're looking at is employment promissory notes, which is something we're looking at taking up. Do you have any comments on that per se?
Yeah, happy to. So this $100,000 requirement for H-1B visas, that has become a bit of a challenge for some of our employers who are seeking to recruit folks under that program. But are a little bit challenged comparatively in the sense that they can't right now structure it in a way to engage in a contract with an employee to say, if we do this, you will work for us and with us for some period of time. That other states have made that accommodation, and we're seeking the flexibility to allow our employers to do that should they seek to do so. So essentially, this will allow them to enter in a negotiation and a conversation with a prospective employee. Say, if we cover, this 100K requirement, you agree to work with us for some period of time. Obviously, totally up to the employee in that negotiation. So we're just seeking to give our employers that flexibility.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just, correct me if I'm wrong, but as my understanding is, so the reform of the H-1B visas from the administration in Washington changed the structure. I believe the fees were notional, or the amounts required in application for an H-1B were de minimis. And therefore, it didn't become a major issue for our employers. And now with a $100,000 essential investment to sponsor an H-1B visa, because many of these people will be coming out of schools or be very gifted and talented people with certain expertise, we're trying to create that the employer still has a way to either ensure that the employee stays with them or has a potential for recouping that $100,000 expenditure.
That's right.
I think what you said was this will be fully disclosed. It's not something that the new employee will be surprised by, but it'll be part of the negotiation and they will physically have to agree to the promissory note, correct?
That's correct. That's exactly right. And again, it introduces flexibility to avail themselves of this program. It's not in any way a requirement, obviously. And you are right. It would be a transparent negotiation with an employee and entered into in good faith.
Okay. And it would maintain the competitiveness you suggested that other states already engaged in this.
That's right.
So we would like to drive some of that employment into our state and make sure, if we've got a multi-state entity and we're not competitive on this contract, we could have people working elsewhere and getting signed on, and we'd like to get them signed on in our state, essentially.
That's correct. That's correct.
Thank you, Commissioner. I believe I have a question from my co-chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for being with us, Commissioner. Yeah, so my question is, what other states have already made these adjustments, accommodations?
I don't know the answer. I know several have. But I have to get back to you with an actual list.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. And do we have any ability to kind of identify what this universe is with all of these changes and the volatility of, things changing, so quickly? I'm just wondering what our population of H-1B visa individuals is like right now. Have we lost that population? Do we have any idea of this universe?
Yeah. And so again, I'd have to follow up to get you specific numbers on number of H-1B visas and specifically what's happened to that population. And I'm interested, so I will follow up with that. What I can tell you though is looking at population trends. We saw international in-migration get cut in half in the last 12 months. And that's a really important engine for our economic growth. I always say this is not a political statement. This is just an economic statement. If you look at our population growth over the last 5 years, it's gone up every year since the pandemic. It was not simply a pandemic blip, but it was driven by international in-migration. We tend to lose folks domestically, meaning more outflow to states than inflow from states. And that's because we have an aging populace. And so we're seeing folks tax and weather optimize. But we make it up with international in-migration. In the latest data available, we still saw our population increase, but at a much lower rate. And the entire delta was driven by our international in-migration getting cut in half. That is not unique to Connecticut. We're seeing that actually throughout the country. Again, it's, I think, because of all the rhetoric we've all experienced and the volatility. The governor and I spent a lot of time talking to internationally based companies or our companies that also have international locations and making sure they know that their employees are welcome here, that Connecticut wants them to come here and build their business, build their family. So we have seen an impact, a negative impact. To answer your question broadly, in terms of H-1B volume, I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, I would appreciate it, if we could have the benefit of those trends right now, just so that we can kind of focus in on this whole discussion. And I'm wondering also, because we did have H-1B visas with our higher education institutions, if you have any information about those trends.
Yeah, and by the way, I can comment again generally. I'm on the board of the University of Connecticut and also on my alma mater's board, which is in a different state. And in both cases, I can tell you we have seen a very material drop in interest in international students, particularly in our master's programs, that had historically been viewed as an entree into the U.S. job market because of, again, the rhetoric we're seeing. We've seen that drop pretty significantly, which is unfortunate because these are folks that are coming here to be educated and ultimately contribute to our economies. So we have seen that drop is tangible and noticeable and material.
Yeah, and so as you know, this committee has worked actually, I think, for 2 cycles on the GEAR, the Global Entrepreneurship and Residency Program, which we've kind of now put on hold for all of these reasons, recognizing the fact that this is a very important dynamic in our state's economy. So yes, any updated information that you could give us on what we're seeing here would be very appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And just one follow-up for me, if I might. I know that we brought up a trade commission for both Germany and for India. And so I mentioned it while you're on the call as well, because that may be circularly, that may not be the focus because it's a trade commission, that may be worthwhile we put some effort into our considerations in our dialogue with representatives of India and Germany on those committees to see whether or not we can foster more of the interest for the H-1B, for master's degree programs, for interchanges, because you're suggesting it's super important for us.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, and I would say, so we will shortly be submitting testimony in support of both of those initiatives. You know, the governor led a trade delegation to both of those countries. You know, in this period we're in right now of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of variation in terms of tariff regime and otherwise, we think it's extremely important to extend and defend our most important bilateral trade channels, and those are two of our very material trade channels, both Germany and India. There are others, and we are working on them, but I think those are two of the more material.
Yeah, but my suggestion there not to, and the nuance was, those are trade committees, but we should put that hat on as well, related to H-1B visas
Yeah.
in relation to subject matter we might converse, because normally you call it a trade committee and all you think about is trade. And we want to
Yep.
think about the exchange and the educational opportunities as well. So thank you, Commissioner. I believe I have Representative Anaskevich ranking from the House with his hand
Thank-
raised. Go
Yep,
ahead,
thank you.
Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to circle back to the promissory note. So I'm assuming, and am I correct in assuming that the promissory note would be a negotiated agreement between employee and employer? And as it
Correct.
relates to that, the length of time that they put into the promissory note is also a negotiated number?
Correct. A
Okay.
very classic form of this would be, we'll front these dollars for you and you agree to work with us for 3 years. If you leave prior to 3 years, you have to reimburse us for the pro rata amount. That would be a classic structure. But you are right. The way it's ultimately a negotiation between employer and employee. We're just simply introducing the flexibility.
Perfect. And then, so obviously, say the employee leaves and they have to go after the money, he's obligated to pay the money, but at some point then this might be litigation that the employer may have to, Pathy may have to go down in order to get repayment, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's a contract, and both parties would have all means available to them in a country with a rule of law. But yes,
Yeah.
you're right. That it could result in litigation if there's some
Right.
disagreement.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for.
Okay, Senator, I believe we have another question from the chamber. Senator Ram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Good morning to you. My question to you, I know the 2025 President Executive Order, any non-immigrant visa require bond deposit 10,000 or 5,000, different the visa category. So who will liable that? For the H-1 visa, company must putting the deposit or candidate?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Happy to look into it and get back to you.
All right. And how you look if it's really is affecting the company here or applicant? Because every single applicant, they must deposit the bond, deposit maybe $10,000, I believe.
Yeah, well, I think, again, I don't know the specifics as it relates to the $10,000 bond. I'm happy to look into it and get back to you. But what I would say is these changes impact both. I mean, it obviously impacts the candidates because there's greater friction, and it impacts our employers because they're seeking to attract employees from the greatest pool available. And I'll just keep circling back to this as an engine of our economy. Again, not a political statement, an economic statement, but international immigration for a long time has been part of what's driven our economy because we're attracting folks oftentimes in our core industries. And we do want our companies to be able to seek from a global pool of talent. So I think the answer to your question is it does adversely impact both employer and employee.
Technically, slowing down the process and not really attractive, so people have to deposit like 10 grand. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Are there any further questions? If not, Commissioner, thank you very much for your testimony. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you again for your flexibility. And we have some follow-ups here that I'll make sure we get back to you all on. Thanks again.
Okay. Next up, we have Geraldo Reyes, if he is, representative from the great city of Waterbury, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable members of the Commerce Committee, Senator Hartley, Representative Meskers, ranking members, and esteemed colleagues of our Commerce Committee. I'll start by saying that having been on the ground floor of the Waterbury Land Bank way back when I had the privilege of serving 4 years under the mayor's leadership to help clean up blighted properties in the city of Waterbury, and we were pretty much holding the bag of the industrial giants that left us. And with that came the blighted properties and properties that were really not worth a whole lot, and not to mention the number of folks that just weren't paying taxes. So I get it, and I understand wholeheartedly what it was able to do. We had a vision, and we've been seeing it rolled out, and the fruits of that is finally in 2026, this spring and summer, we'll be actually developing a 44-unit development on one of our original land bank strips where we actually purchased or acquired. I lost track. If I'm not sure if it's 8 or 9 homes on the street, pretty much cleared up that whole south side of the street, and that's where the 44 units will go, and that's a direct result of the land bank acquiring these dilapidated houses and these houses that were actually falling apart and or that had people that were not paying taxes. So I just leave it to say that we've seen the upside of the productivity of how we can get things moving faster as a body, as a city that has a lot of properties that have been cleaned up. And I will say, through a lot of the immigrants that have come to Waterbury, they have actually purchased a lot of these homes at the same time. So we had two parallel things going on at the same time. Immigrants buying these homes at low prices and fixing them up. That was one path, but the second path, and the one that we saw the biggest bang for the buck, was the work of the land bank. I would like to see Waterbury be as aggressive as Hartford and New Haven with their land banks, but I know we can get there, and I just came here today to testify in support of the act concerning the Waterbury Land Bank because, as I said earlier, having been on the ground floor, I absolutely see the upside of it. And the thing that I will tell you is that Waterbury now, since we started the collection of these lands and these properties, are now have very few blighted properties. Now we're dealing with the opposite problem. So we have accumulated land banks together, but now we want to now do the economic development piece and continue supporting the Waterbury Land Bank. So I come here in full support, having lived the journey of the land bank in the city of Waterbury, and will continue to support any work with the Waterbury Land Bank and the land banks in general, and I will take questions. And I'm sorry I didn't announce myself. I'm Geraldo Reyes from the city of Waterbury.
Thank you, Representative. You certainly have been a stalwart champion and proponent of the investment both in brownfields, in remediation, and in the land bank, so it's duly noted. I think you can't find better allies than Senator Hartley and myself and our ranking, Representative Anaskevich and Senator Martin. As I sit at my end of the state, where we end up being a significant contributor to the balance sheet of the state with the tax dollars, it's, I think, imperative that we invest in our cities, that we invest in the infrastructure, that we invest in the remediation, both gray fields and brownfields, and bring properties back onto the tax rolls. Mm-hmm. We need to get our cities up and self-sustaining. We need to improve the quality of life, the job opportunities, and housing. So I don't think you will find better advocates than your Commerce Committee to sit here and advocate for it. In terms of the land bank itself, is there any other comments you'd like to make related to the land bank itself? Is there anything you thought that we needed to get done there?
Mr. Chair, the only thing I will add is that, as I said, I would like to see the Waterbury Land Bank be brought up to be on par with Hartford and New Haven's, which I think are far more aggressive, and I'd like to see Waterbury be more aggressive, and it comes down to not just policy, but funding as well.
Well, thank you very much. I certainly will take that into consideration. Do we have any questions from the committee? If not, I want to thank you for taking the time out in a busy day after a massive snowstorm to show up and testify.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, guys.
Next up, we have, if he is online, Representative Napoli, I believe, is set up now as the third speaker.
Hi,
And
thank
I'd be
you.
remiss not to thank Representative Napoli for his support in the funding for the brownfields and all of the work he's done on the bonding subcommittee. But go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for those nice words. And it's an honor to be here with all of you this morning. Co-chair Senator Hartley, Representative Meskers, Vice Chair Senator Rahman, Representative Kitt, ranking members Senator Martin and Rep. Anaskovich, and really the entire membership of the Commerce Committee. I want to first begin by thanking you all for the really good work that you do on a bipartisan basis for the state of Connecticut. And really, because of your efforts, I heard the commissioner speak a little bit earlier. You know, Connecticut has currently the fourth ranked best economy. And certainly a lot of that is the policy that you all put in place working with our governor. So thank you. So I submitted testimony on Raise Bill 241. I won't read that. You all have that. But really, we passed this legislation back in 2019, and we did it on a bipartisan basis in the House and in the Senate. And really, a lot of our communities are better off because of it. And so I'll just talk a little bit about the Waterbury Land Bank, if that's okay. So the Waterbury Land Banks here in Waterbury, you know, works to enhance the quality of life for our residents. The organization does this by repurposing vacant lots and existing building structures into new community assets. They work closely with the city of Waterbury and other nonprofits in the greater Waterbury area and our local businesses to catalyze neighborhood investments. The mission of the Waterbury Land Bank is really to strengthen neighborhoods by returning distressed property to productive use, promoting economic development, increasing real property values, and improving the lives of Waterbury residents, like my colleague Rep. Ray has just talked about. You know, I want to point out that our land bank is very fortunate to have some talented people working alongside of it, including the former CEO of Webster Bank, Jim Smith. And Jim was really instrumental in the redevelopment of a blighted area about 10 or 15 years ago in Waterbury called the Gaffney Place. And so Jim and his team went in there, redeveloped an entirely neighborhood, you know, and gave a lot of opportunities to people who really deserve them. And so we're lucky to have someone like him. But again, I am here to support Raise Bill 241 and certainly would welcome any feedback or comments from the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And it's important to get our legislators in to testify to lend their support. So I appreciate that. And I think it's symbolic of what we need to think about when we think of land banks. And this is the one in front of us. And hopefully in the future, we'll have more of regional land banks in other areas so that we get to see the same effort and continuity of effort in the state. I don't know if we have any questions for Representative Napoli? I think seeing no questions, Representative Napoli, thank you for showing up and doing the work you do in the Assembly. Thank you very much for your contribution today.
Thank you.
So next up, we have the first selectman from the town of Stonington, Bill Middleton. So for those who may not know, there is no, do we have him online, Mr. Middleton? Just checking.
I'm here.
Okay, before you start, I just want to make sure I had you. For the rest of the population of the state who may be tuning in, so we have two towns. We have Stonington and Groton that comprise the district affectionately known as Mystic, Connecticut. So they're two municipalities. Now, we're pivoting from a conversation about Waterbury and the land bank to Mystic, where you think of it as a premier spot for vacationing, for tourism, for visits, where it hosts an aquarium and a seaport and a museum, but it also hosts a commercial fishing pier where we have our last remaining commercial fleet that goes out. And it's the only fleet, and it competes at the margin with Gloucester and Barnstable, Gloucester in Massachusetts, Barnstable in New Jersey. And we've got a commercial factory or commercial freezing process plant there. So I've taken it upon myself as chair of co-chair of Commerce, to focus on Mystic from a whole host of reasons in both economic development and in opportunity for tourism. And I'm leading the charge in our Commerce Committee to build the consensus and support for what I would hope to be a developmental plan for Mystic, for the greater Mystic area, to expand over time. We have a number of waterfront communities with opportunities for both economic development, business, commerce, pleasure. And I'm just looking to get us coordinated there. And to that end, and to his credit, the first selectman of the town of Stonington and Mystic, Mr. Middleton, has agreed to speak to us. So take it away, Bill. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having us, and thank you particularly to Chairman Meskers for this opportunity and his support of Mystic in general. As you know, Stonington is both home to the last commercial fishing fleet, as Chairman Meskers referred to, as well as Mystic, the largest visitor destination in the state. Both of these are significant economic drivers for the state of Connecticut, and subsequently significant and growing sources of tax revenue for the state as well. Given that, we are at a critical juncture for future growth and the need of public infrastructure to realize that growth. For the fishing industry, continued rebuilding and expansion of infrastructure, including the North and South Piers, the extension of the South Pier, and rebuilding of the existing breakwater, will provide a variety of benefits. Among these are expansion of the fishing fleet, making us competitive with other ports, but also do so in a way that positions additional benefits of climate resiliency. Stonington is uniquely positioned as an excellent harbor that accesses the open ocean as well as a variety of coastal waters, allowing for the harvesting of a broad range of seafood products. It is also easily accessible to transportation infrastructure and within close range of the New York and Boston seafood markets and the world's greatest chefs and restaurants. On the tourism side, Mystic has become enormously successful as a globally recognized destination. This has been achieved largely through private efforts and capital. That said, we are at a tipping point of needing significant public infrastructure to continue this growth while also allowing us to maintain the quality of life that has attracted visitors and residents and kept many of those residents here for generations. Our primary focus is on transportation infrastructure. We are starting to feel the pain of our own success in terms of traffic and parking. That said, we have a real opportunity to reimagine where visitors go when they arrive and how they get there. We are fortunate to have existing road, rail, and water infrastructure to work with. Our primary objective is to get those arriving by car to get out of their cars as soon as possible and get off of I-95 and move them around into town by public transportation, boat, biking, and walking. This not only provides a potential for increased visitorship, but does so in a way that is less impactful for residents, enhances the visitor experience, and is significantly more environmentally friendly. We realize this won't happen overnight, and this is a long-term plan, and we look forward to working with the state as a partner, not only for infrastructure investment, but also as a long-term generator of tax revenue. Thank you, and please feel free to share any questions you may have.
So, Bill, as chair, I get the privilege of being the first person to ask a question. I'm not sure if you have someone who's going to speak directly to the breakwater, or could you
We do.
further? Do you have someone, or
We do, yes.
Okay, perfect. So, I think, Bill, the comment you make as first selectman, and for the edification of our public, I think it's important to recognize, right? Your tax revenue source is essentially the same as every municipality in the state.
Correct.
Which is the mill rate, right?
If I could jump in there for a second. So you're correct. We have property taxes are our primary source of revenue, even though we generate significant other revenue through the additional meals tax, the hotel tax. So in a sense, we bear all the costs of tourism, but we don't get any of the revenue from it. And that's an important point that I think surprises a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, Bill, it's funny. I think you are on the opposite side of the prior conversation, which is interesting. Prior to you, we were looking at the Waterbury Land Bank. There, what we're trying to do is provide revenue resources to the town of Waterbury or the city of Waterbury to rebuild and redevelop their properties and put them back on the tax rolls.
Right.
Where you are in the point of tourism and visitation and activity is you've got a police force, you've got traffic control, you've got maintenance and support of an incredibly robust and vibrant tourist industry, but all of the economic activity revenue is essentially in some way wrapped around a sales tax or an occupancy tax, which
Correct.
gets redirected back to Hartford.
Correct.
And I'm saying that in emphasizing your commentary because I think it's the public needs to understand that we have a tremendous economic activity going on, but we have a lack, there isn't a quid pro quo on a reinvestment of some marginal or significant percentage of the tax revenue from those economic activity taxes back into Mystic. So while it is a very successful town, in order to resolve these issues, we've got to figure out how we can continue to support ultimately the revenue that ends up in Hartford by investing in the tourism and infrastructure that you're asking for, I think. I think that
Yeah,
kind of summarizes it, no?
That's exactly right. We're not really looking for expenditures. We're looking for investment that results in more tax dollars. And I think you're going to find historically and going forward that the return on that investment is quite substantial.
And thank you very much. Do we have questions from the from anyone on the dais or anyone remotely? Seeing no questions, thank you, Bill, for stepping up to speak on the
Thank
issue.
you.
And I look forward to
Appreciate the
further
opportunity.
testimony today. Next up, we have Jenna Grasso from CBIA, Policy Director, Bioscience Growth and State Spending. Do we have Jenna? Apology. I was looking for a hand to be raised. Come on down, as they say.
Well, good afternoon now, members of the Commerce Committee, Senator Hartley, Representative Meskers, Senator Rahman, Representative Kitt, Representative Anaskovich, Senator Martin, and members of the committee. My name is Jenna Grasso. I am the Policy Director of Bioscience Growth and State Spending at the Connecticut Business and Industry Association. CBIA represents thousands of member companies across a diverse range of industries, and most of our member companies employ 100 employees or fewer. I am also the Policy Director of our Bioscience Growth Council, so specifically I represent the interests of biopharma and biotech companies, both large and small. So thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 5244, an act concerning the Department of Economic and Community Development, Community Development's recommendations regarding
Excuse me, could you move the microphone a little closer?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I just got a note. I couldn't hear it either. I could hear you, but I didn't know it was broadcasting, so thank you.
Okay. So I'll start up. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 5244, an act concerning the Department of Economic and Community Development's recommendations regarding the agency financial assistance cap and employment of promissory notes. So at its core, this bill is really about economic competitiveness. H-1B visa holders are a key driver of economic growth, and they complement our state's native-born workforce. Connecticut's H-1B workforce is concentrated in key economic centers such as New Haven, Stamford, Hartford, and these employees contribute to businesses and communities across the state. Available federal data, labor application indicate Connecticut employs several thousand H-1B visa holders. Now, the crux of this bill is in response to the Trump administration's proclamation from earlier last year in September to issue that new H-1B visa holders will now cost employers $100,000 per new applicant. This is simply, this would incentivize Connecticut employers to hire new H-1B visa holders So essentially, we're asking for the promissory note. And what the promissory note does, it creates a targeted exception to the employment promissory note prohibition in Section 31-51R of this bill. This provides a practical business-aligned solution. It allows employers to responsibly manage workforce investment risk while continuing to hire highly skilled temporary international talent needed to support Connecticut's economy. And if I could just go back, I remember Senator Hartley, I believe, asked the question, do any other states have this clause in place? And yes, they do. The most economically competitive states in the nation, such as Texas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, do allow for a clawback agreement, the colloquial term, but they do allow for the promissory note between the employer and the employee when deciding their contract for an H-1B visa holder. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have more lengthy testimony that I believe was provided to you, but again, I'm happy to answer any questions about specific asks.
So I don't have specific questions for you. Don't take it as a lack of interest, because between your testimony and the conversations with our DCD, I'm in support, so I want to thank you. I want to open it up for questions from the, I see Representative Wood is up.
Thank you, Jenna. Where would this policy put us in terms of other states? Are we more competitive, less competitive? Do we need to go farther than the language here, or what is your feedback on that?
We would most definitely be more competitive, as most of Connecticut businesses also are located in other states. So if a Connecticut business is here and they also are located in Georgia, just hypothetically speaking, but a member comes to mind, they're more likely to send that H-1B visa holder over to Georgia rather than Connecticut, so that we lose out on that talent directly. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. That's good to know. I think we want to make sure that we are being as competitive as possible when we put this forward, considering we are a smaller state, but we are competing against larger states to our north and south that are probably offer a little bit more than we do. But if we can be more competitive in this space, I think we have a better opportunity of attracting the best talent. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, Jenna, tell me if I'm wrong, but conceptually, if we do this with the H-1Bs, it's attracting a core group of people who theoretically are going to be maybe form the fulcrum of a research team that's going to create a lot of other employment in the state. Because what we're trying to do is build on unconventional or talent that's not accessible here in Connecticut, bring it on board and grow that opportunity in our state. So there's a concentric opportunity I think you're looking at. Would I be correct in that analysis?
Right, and as I'm sure you've heard many of my colleagues say, we have 74,000 job openings across the state. So this proposal would just complement current open jobs that are high-skilled labor jobs. These are not entry-level positions. They at minimum require a bachelor's degree. Most have PhDs, and they're going into pharma, biotech, actuarial sciences, finance. So I would agree that this is needed for those sectors specifically too.
Yeah, and those are all core competencies of the state. So I thank you for the testimony. Any further questions? Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jenna, thank you. So you mentioned the $100,000 promissory note or a bonding requirement for the company.
So prior to the proclamation issued this past September, H-1B visas, give or take the company size, ranged from $2,000 to $5,000. Now they cost an employer $100,000 to issue an H-1B visa, a new H-1B visa. So that is where the $100,000 comes from. So the promissory note incentivizes businesses. It mitigates that risk pool because it is such an increase in amount for the visa. So it incentivizes more businesses to continue hiring H-1B visa holders rather than not. Because if not, like I said earlier to Representative Wood, those employees, or employers I should say, will send the H-1B visa holders to other states that allow for the clause.
So the visa they're getting for 2 years or how long?
The H-1B visa or the contract?
Yes, for how long?
The visa duration until it expires, or the contract?
The contract and visa, because I think they have the work authorization for certain
Thank you.
time. Yeah.
So the contract is based off of the individual agreement between the employer and the employee. Like Commissioner O'Keefe said, it's usually 3 years. The H-1B visa is similar to that, 2 to 3 years. I
Thank
believe.
you, I
But I can
appreciate
get
it.
back to you if that number is slightly off.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Senator. Any other questions from the committee? Thank you very much for your testimony, Jenna.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate. Next up, we have Brenda Cannon. I think.
Brenda Cannon is online, but she has not accepted the promotion to panelist to be able to speak.
So Brenda, if you're watching, you need to accept the promotion and then unmute to speak.
She declined it again.
Why don't we go for one more try?
Okay.
And if not, we will, maybe if you have a cell phone or something you can text, we'll straighten it out subsequently. Then we'll move on to the next speaker. So we'll move on to the next speaker. If she does show up, please interrupt me or let me know.
I will do.
After the next speaker, right? So next up, I have Harry Bordson, Seaport Marine and Red 36 out of the town of Stonington.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Good morning, Harry. Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Broadcasting perfectly. Go ahead, sir.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for thank you for allowing us to speak today, and also apologies for the informal nature of my uniform today. I just hopped out of my plow truck, which I've been in since yesterday morning. So, Mystic's a great place, but I think that we absorbed most of the snow here the last couple of days, which is fine. But it's a beautiful day. But you know, thank you to everybody on the committee. Got some prepared remarks here that happy to go through and answer any questions afterwards. But Chairman Meskers, Chairwoman Hartley, Ranking Member Martin, Ranking Member Anaskevich, and honorable members of the Commerce Committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today on the tremendous economic and tourism development opportunity that Seaport Marine represents for the greater Mystic, Connecticut area. My name is Harry Bordson. I own Seaport Marine, located in the heart of downtown Mystic, along with my wife, Abby, my father-in-law, John Holstein, and his sister, Jill. We're a Connecticut family business that have employed people and created opportunity in Connecticut for decades. I'm honored to present my support for this critical initiative that will expand and solidify Mystic's status as the premier tourism destination in the state of Connecticut. Seaport Marine, we're an 11.5-acre waterfront property situated here in the very heart of downtown Mystic, the largest and most visited tourism attraction in the state. Our family-owned and operated marina boasts over 100 wet slips for boaters and is home to the very popular Red 36 restaurant. Highly successful waterfront restaurant with guest visits in the millions over the past decade. Along with a sold-out marina, both Seaport Marine and Red 36 stand as a testament to the extraordinary tourism demand in the region and the potential for even greater economic growth. As we look to the future, Seaport Marine's proposing enhancements that present a once-in-a-lifetime generational opportunity to expand Mystic's tourism and infrastructure while improving community resilience and addressing longstanding municipal challenges. Our plans for expansion are pretty much highlighted in these 4 points. We're looking to enhance waterfront access with the addition of more than 1,500 linear feet of bulkheading and dredging for deep draft vessels that will dramatically improve Mystic's capacity to welcome more transient vessels and maritime tourism, further strengthening its status as a premier New England destination. Part of our plans include a public riverwalk and more community engagement. We're looking to, by opening the new Riverwalk, Seaport Marine will create an inviting and accessible waterfront, increasing foot traffic and visitor engagement with the town's maritime heritage. Parking infrastructure solutions are also part of our expansion program. The reconfiguration of Seaport Marine will provide much needed parking solutions for downtown Mystic, mitigating longstanding congestion issues and enhancing the overall visitor experience. Resiliency and infrastructure improvements include plans to raise grade levels, bury utilities, and establish new pedestrian thoroughfares. Seaport Marine will play a pivotal role in improving the town's resilience to climate challenges while ensuring the longevity of its tourism-based economy. The Seaport Marine development aligns perfectly with the broader economic and tourism plans for the greater Mystic area. By leveraging this prime waterfront real estate, we have the ability to create sustainable economic growth, generate new jobs, and attract increased tourism revenue for the state of Connecticut. Furthermore, this investment in Mystic's future will preserve and enhance the charm, accessibility, and appeal that makes it such a treasure destination. I urge the committee to recognize and support the Seaport Marine development as a cornerstone project that will shape the future of Mystic's economy and tourism industry for decades to come. Thank you for your time and consideration, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
One, I think it's important for the general public. So now I've got a major economic entity in Seaport Marine and Red 36 here to speak to us, and recognizing, you know, he said tongue-in-cheek for his appearance because he was out snow plowing. People step up to testify on various issues and contribute so much to our dialogue, and we appreciate that contribution. Can you speak a little bit to the proposed plan for the Riverwalk, Harry?
Sure. So, as you know, Seaport Marine is about 11.5 acres right in the heart of downtown Mystic. So we're just south of the drawbridge. We're sandwiched in between the drawbridge and the train trestle. To give you an idea on the size of our property, the Seaport Museum itself is about 19 acres. So we encompass almost more than half of what the Seaport Museum realizes on the waterfront. However, roughly half of our waterfront is essentially unused at the moment. We're looking to upgrade some bulkheading, reconfigure some docks, and along with that reconfiguration, we're able to open up about 1,500 new feet of linear waterfront, riverfront access that we would like to make available to the public to continue the thoroughfare that already exists in the Mystic Downtown Park. So it's just like the Mystic River has always been our cornerstone of attraction here in town, but really access to the river has been limited up until about 10 years ago. So we have the ability to open up our private side of the property line and stretch the riverfront that exists currently in a limited scope down into our property and wrap it around. So we're trying to utilize the private side of our property as more public benefit.
I appreciate the suggestion. Obviously, we need to figure out what the potentiality is for us, for the state, what kind of a right-of-way or access we would give, and what kind of investment it would require. But certainly things that enhance the overall situational tourism visitation to the Mystic Stonington Mystic region, and Stonington specifically, and increases the traffic in a manageable way is a benefit to all of us. So I appreciate your testimony there. Do we have any any questions from anyone from the committee at this moment? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for your testimony. I certainly will make sure that we that we push it out to our membership on this quasi-remote and snowy day. But I appreciate it, and thank you very much for stepping up.
Thank you, everybody.
Next up, we have Jay Spalding, Stonington Harbor Management Commission.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Meskers. Thank you to the committee for allowing us to speak. In Stonington, we have Stonington Harbor is a nice protected harbor, commercial and recreational application there. The harbor was established 200 years ago by the firmly established with the construction of this breakwater. It's an early Army Corps of Engineers project, and it served the harbor for hundreds of years. It became apparent after Superstorm Sandy and the Storm Irene, about the same time, 2011, 2012, that we had a problem. The breakwater deteriorated, and we felt we needed to get to work. We didn't even know who owned the breakwater at that point. We went through a lengthy process that actually required congressional action for the federal government who had neglected the breakwater for years to actually give up ownership of it or say they were done with it. At the time, we thought the town might take it on as part of our harbor management function, but inside, in the coastal jurisdiction area. But the Attorney General of the state of Connecticut determined that the state of Connecticut actually owns the breakwater. At the time, we had already proceeded quite a ways along the process of trying to fix it. So we established a project. We got a design. We got funding, a grant for design. We got a license to improve the breakwater. And that's where we stand right now. Commissioner Gimple, who's our project manager for this, can give you more information on this, who I believe is our next speaker. So you can wait for her, maybe best before you ask questions, or I'll take any questions now too.
I feel I'm being pushed to take it on to Commissioner Gimble, but I have no problem with that. Any questions?
Well, she has more details in her presentation as to where we stand.
I felt as much. I understood. I was half tongue in cheek. So I appreciate you stepping up, Jay. Elizabeth, perhaps you would continue on unless I don't see any other questions from the committee. So Elizabeth Gimple, the Stonington Harbor Management Commission Commissioner, why don't you step up?
Morning, good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth Gimple. Like Jay said, I am on the Harbor Management Commission, and I'm the project manager for that is working with the breakwater. I thank you for your opportunity to testify in this session today. As Jay said, our commission has been working for over a decade to address our 580-foot-long inner breakwater, which is in dire need of repair. It was originally built in 1828. It's one of 3 breakwaters that protects our harbor from wave action and swells, from storms out of the south and southwest direction, southeast direction, with a long fetch across Fisher's Island Sound and into the Atlantic Ocean. As it stands today, the breakwater has deteriorated since maintenance has abandoned pursuant to the Rivers and Harbor Act of 1950. It has suffered substantial and accelerated damage. It has lost both mass and structural integrity. In 2 places, it's considered to have failed, as it is overtopped by monthly high tides. It is considered to have, the entire breakwater is considered damaged, as it provides no protection from hurricanes or winter nor'easters like we had yesterday. Why is this project so important to the Stonington Harbor? Although steamships and sealers no longer call Stonington Harbor home, it remains an important economic engine. The harbor is the home port to our commercial fishing fleet, as well as a diverse array of water-dependent enterprises. This breakwater should protect the east side shore businesses, including the fishing piers, recreational boating shipyard, and tourism-related businesses such as dining, restaurant, and shopping. Lodging in Stonington Borough. These businesses have an $11 million annual gross revenue impact and employ approximately 120 people. This breakwater is meant to protect the 47 waterfront residents that generate $865,000 in taxes, and they protect over 400 recreational boats on moorings during the season. As Jay stated, although the inner breakwater is owned by the state of Connecticut and managed by DEEP, currently Stonington holds a certificate of permission to rebuild the breakwater using water-based equipment, to recover the dislodged granite, restack existing, and add supplemental materials to recreate it in a basic historic footprint. This breakwater will protect the commercial fishing piers that have seen over $1 million worth of work in the last couple of years and still are in need. It will be rebuilt to accommodate for sea level rise, to make our harbor more resilient, to the effects of climate change, and the flat walkable top will promote public access to our beautiful harbor. What's it going to cost? The price tag has been the largest obstacle for this project. At this time, the Stonington Harbor Management Commission is in the process of updating the 2020 estimate of $4.6 million to see what a current cost would be. Considering that for an investment of roughly half the annual income generated here, the project could be fully completed and provide protection long into the future. Together, the town of Stonington, the Harbor Management Commission, DEEP, Port Authority, the state of Connecticut, we could work together. We have a shovel-ready project to save this historic breakwater, provide coastal public access, and protect our precious waterfront. I thank you for your time and consideration today and welcome any questions.
I think it behooves all of us, Elizabeth, I don't know if you have any historic photos that you've provided as part of your testimony, because I think conceptually it would help all of us and the general public to look at what the breakwater represented 100 years ago and what it represents today in terms of just its structural condition. I don't know if you
Absolutely. Yes, our town, Stacy Haskell, the town had submitted our breakwater impact statement. Then and now gives history and a lot of more details about the breakwater. So that should be part of the written testimony for anyone to take a look at.
So in my conversations, Elizabeth, with you and in visits, the breakwater represents basically, linguistically, it is a breakwater. It stops the kinetic energy of waves. And currently, as you suggest in your testimony, you're getting overtopped, twice a month at high tides, which would suggest any northeaster is going to bring fairly significant wave action into the harbor. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have seen damage in many winter storms, 22, 21. The wave action just submerges that particular breakwater, yes.
And directly behind the breakwater for the public, which, they'll see in testimony, is the commercial fishing pier for the state of Connecticut. So should the breakwater fail in a northeaster, I think we're putting $1 million or so. I think there's $500,000 from the feds and maybe $500,000 from us, or maybe $1.5 million. I've kind of lost track. That money will disappear in not only will the damage be bad to our commercial pier, but we could lose that fleet if we don't have the docking space, if we're not in a protected harbor. Is that correct?
That is what the fishermen have expressed to me and our commission.
And I think just as an added comment, you mentioned, it was mentioned to me that this is also the evacuation route for Fisher's Island, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the commercial fishing dock is the evacuation land base for ships to dock if they need to.
So in theory, if we're in the middle of a northeaster and we don't have a breakwater, we may also face an issue that we cannot address the issue of accepting people. I don't know where we turn them to in a major evacuation, right?
I would say that's fair.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the committee members? Any hands raised? Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I look forward, and I want to make sure we actively circulate some of the pictures, particularly of the breakwater and the conditionality. And I would add that, having sat with Representative Wood on insurance, the lack of storm mitigation, the lack of breakwater is going to increase the liability insurance on all the real estate surrounding the breakwater, and the cost of operations, their viability is going to be impacted simply by the fact that they're going to be looked as being exposed to open season storms. So I think there's probably a knock-on impact on the cost of doing business until we fix that breakwater. But thank you. If there are no further comments, I'm going to move on. So thank you very much. If we have, I believe next up is Robert Smith. who is the president of SNEFLA. Do we have Robert Smith on?
We have him online. He's muted. Robert Smith, are you there?
So Robert, if you can hear us, you need to unmute. Robert, if you unmute. While Robert is straightening that out, we could move on. We have the association member, Vincenzo Supa at SNEFLA.
How are you? I'd like to.
Robert Smith is here.
Ah, Robert? Thank you, Robert. You were muted. You just showed up. So take it away. Robert, you're muted again.
He was there, video and all.
Yep. Robert, we cannot hear you. I think
And we
you're
have a
back on.
Vincenzo Supa also declining to become a panelist.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Robert's-
here.
There he
Good.
is.
Perfect. Go ahead, Robert. Don't
No,
touch the
this
computer.
No, this is Vincenzo. I'm sorry. Just keep switching.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Vincenzo.
Hi, I'm Vincenzo Supa. I work at American Seafood. I'm an owner at American Seafood. We work in conjunction with Southern New England Fishermen and Lobstermen Association at the town dock. I run my business out of there, out of the facilities. And so I could speak to the dock extension and the working waterfront. I think we've all seen the working waterfront across the region in states around us just become smaller and smaller. And as boats get bigger and bigger, you know, the average boat back in the 60s and 70s might have been 40 or 50 feet was a large boat, maybe even 60 feet. Now we have boats coming in that are, 100 feet plus. So the dock extension is needed to not only accommodate bigger boats and increase the revenue for the state and increase the tax revenue, but it also employs more people, brings in more boats. And we see a lot of interest from out-of-state boats who want to come in and want to pack out with us, meaning offload their catch. They want to bring their fish to the market through Connecticut. They want to buy supplies through SNEFLA, that's the Southern New England Fishermen and Lobstermen Association. But we don't have the room. And I think that's really, critical. And I think that's something that if that can be changed, if that's something we can do and bring that dock extension to life, it'll really increase the state's revenue and it'll enhance what we already have. And a common theme I've kind of been hearing today through some testimony is, competitiveness with other states. And I could say firsthand, being in this industry, other states, they help their fishing community, but the fishing community is shrinking everywhere. And I could say that, here in Connecticut, we have real interest from out-of-state boats to come and pack out with us, offload their catch, dock their boats, bring their business to Connecticut. And these are not small businesses. These boats, they do, millions and millions of dollars in revenue a year. So if we bring in a couple of boats from out of state, it'll really help in the long run. That said, we have ports around us like Montauk, Point Judith, Rep Meskers, as mentioned, Barnstable and Gloucester. And right now, in the past year or so, we've seen landings really increase as we've taken the dock over at American Seafood. We've really pushed and brought some boats over, and I think there's a lot more growth there. So, the dock extension will also provide more safe harbor. As we heard from the Harbor Management Commission, when we get that real southern swell, kind of takes half our dock away. The boats can't park. In the end, the swell gets so big right where we offload the fish that sometimes you can almost not even offload. It really is kind of a shame. And it's just something that if we can change, it'd be great to have. And that's really all I have to say. I want to thank everyone for their time. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, so I'll start off. In conversations, my understanding was that if we could increase capacity, i.e. the dock and the breakwater, that we could also secure more landing rights from the feds for fishing. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Thank you for raising that, because for years we didn't have the space to bring boats in. And how it works with these federally managed quotas is if you don't land the fish, they don't give you the fish. It's like state money, like we've all seen with grants. If you don't spend it, they don't give it to you. So when we don't have the boats landing in our state, we don't get any quota. And a lot of times our boats here in the state of Connecticut are fishing the same exact waters as boats from North Carolina. It's just they literally cannot bring it back home. So the more we bring boats in from out of state, the more our boats here can land in state, because we have the facilities, because we have the breakwater and the dock extension, the more quota we'll get, and the more everything will expand, and it'll be more tax revenue for the state. It'll be, enhanced opportunities for our commercial fishermen, and it'll help everyone.
So I'm trying to visualize this. So we build out the breakwater, we build out the pier, we increase the licensing, we get more boats. I have to think that the boats are going to be compromised in terms of going out to North Carolina back and forth versus beginning to look about where they're physically located. And therefore, you're going to get maintenance and repair, or that economic support activity is going to increase as well. I have to think in the region, whether it's New London, et cetera, we're going to end up with more repair facilities or requests for repair facilities. Is that correct?
Without a doubt. The average boat, if they burn 1,500 gallons of diesel and they, have to do an oil change every trip, that revenue is coming back to the state. They're buying fuel, they're buying supplies. When the boat needs to be repaired, a lot of these boats are steel, they need to be welded. They're hiring local welders. It enhances the local economy in so many ways, even down to the grocery stores. I mean, they're going to get food and grub at the local grocery stores and spending, thousands of dollars. So it trickles right down, and it will help in so many ways.
Thank you for the testimony. I wanted to tease it out because I think it's important that we realize that the investment, the physical infrastructure investment, is going to have very significant spillover impacts. I assume that catch is going to end up being distributed through you and into the local economy to a large extent. The demand for seafood is, if anything, seems to be rising on the East Coast.
Without a doubt. A lot of this fish, as it was touched on earlier, not recalling whose testimony it was, does go to, New York markets, Boston markets. Our fishes goes as far as Toronto, Canada, Louisiana, Alabama, Texas, Japan. So it's nationwide, statewide, but it does go directly into the mouths of Connecticut consumers as well. We see a lot of restaurants, fish markets, direct to consumer coming right to the dock, ordering from us. So it goes a long way.
Well, thank you for the testimony. Do we have any questions from the committee members? So this was Vincenzo, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Vincenzo. I appreciate very much your testimony. I don't know if Robert Smith is still looking to testify or not, or if that completes the group. If not, I believe we'll move on to next up. We have Nancy McMillan from the Waterbury Land Bank Authority, Executive Director. Do we have Nancy? Nancy, you're currently muted if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Actually, I thank the committee for allowing the Land Bank and our representative, Jim Smith from the Harold Webster Smith Foundation, who's preparing to join us today. He prepared a testimony to provide to you this morning. And I know right now he's looking to sign on. So I'll just preface, I guess, his testimony in saying that the Land Bank has been in existence for several years. We've been able to strategize and implement our strategy through acquiring property, disposing of property in the last several years without a lot of capital funding. The strategies have really been, I would say, contributing to the City of Waterbury's collaboration with the Land Bank. We work very closely with the city. They support us in many ways, financially and morally. And we've been able to accomplish acquisitions of 32 properties to date. And over the last few years, we've disposed of 12 properties, and we have a handful of the sales pending, creating new housing construction projects, new single-family and multifamily rehab projects. We're just looking to the state to help us accelerate blight remediation through the acquisitions, maintenance, and disposition of property. And I believe you'll hear from Jim Smith in terms of what we've done to date. And and his appeal to ask the state to provide funding to the land bank. Being the second land bank in the state, second to Hartford and New Haven behind us, we actually are approaching land banking from a slightly different angle, and I think it's been very successful. I think with, again, the funding that we've had, we've been able to establish a good cornerstone in terms of a way to strategize in acquiring property. But more importantly, with the funding coming from the state, we could have a much more robust rehab program, which is what we're looking to do. But I see Jim Smith is on now, and I'm going to allow him to give.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Mr. Smith, yes, I believe we can hear you. I cannot see your, I don't know if you are with or without a camera, which is not significant in of itself, but we just did hear you.
Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you, yes, Mr. Smith.
You do hear me?
You could step a little closer to the microphone, I think.
I'm not sure what's happening here.
We can hold on for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Does it sound good from, it's a little on the low side. Let's see if we can we get an adjustment to it at all? From our
I'm
side?
trying to get in via my, I can't seem to get this working on the desktop.
Okay, Jim, can I step in for a quick second?
Yes.
Your camera is on. I don't know what computer that you've logged in through, but it's not what you're speaking into now. Do you have another
Yes, so-
computer in the room with you?
No, I was trying to join from my laptop, and I'm so sorry about this. And
You have joined.
It's telling me to go to a different device for some reason.
Well, you are logged on. You do have camera access. You're just not in the camera. We do hear your voice, so you are near this computer, but I
Yes.
don't know what computer you are using.
So I unmuted.
Yes, we can hear you and I can see you, but you're not in the camera frame.
You can see me?
No, we have a picture from a camera that is logged in, but
I
you're
see.
not
All
sitting
right,
in
so
front
we're
of it.
halfway there.
Yes, it
You're
looks
not
like a
sitting in
gray
front of the
door
camera.
frame.
Yes, so maybe the camera's in reverse or something.
I can't help you with that. Put your hand on
No.
the back of the laptop and we'll tell you if we can see
Yeah,
your
so I
hand.
think the camera, that's it. Can I testify? Hear me?
Yes.
Yes, if you just want to
All
testify
right,
verbally,
I
it's
really
fine.
appreciate that. I can't hear you very well, but for some reason it would not let me join from my iPad. Well, listen, why don't you stop me as I go if you can't hear me, okay? And then, of course, Nancy and Fred are with us as well, and they'd be able to respond to some questions. But I do really appreciate this opportunity. I thank Madam Chair, Senator Hartley, and also Co-Chair Meskers. Good to see you again, too. And thank you for including the act concerning the Waterbury Land Bank on the agenda and for inviting me to testify on the land bank's behalf. Are you hearing me okay?
It's a
Good.
little
All right,
bit.
so I'm Smith. I'm chairman of the Waterbury-based Harold Webster Smith Foundation, which is a legacy foundation devoted to community revitalization. And it's been a long-time proponent for Connecticut-based urban land banks and is the inaugural funder of the Waterbury Land Bank. And joining me today to answer any questions is the Executive Director, Nancy McMillan, and the Waterbury Land Bank Chair, Fred Lutke, who's a lifelong contributor to Waterbury's well-being. I filed written testimony and the bank filed a slide presentation, and we're going to screen share that, but we're simply going to leave it on the cover page right now, and I'm going to make a few comments, and then toward the end, maybe Casey will walk me through that, and I can point out a couple things on these slides, which give a fairly comprehensive presentation about who the land bank is, how it came to be, what the goals and objectives are, funding, and all things that you would want to know while you're considering the act. The $5 million that's requested in state bond funds is actually equal in amount to the initial grants made to the Hartford and New Haven land banks. It would be used by DECD to provide a grant in aid to the Waterbury Land Bank Authority to acquire, maintain, remediate, or develop real property, and for the related projects in the city of Waterbury. The Waterbury Land Bank is an independent, tax-exempt 501c3 organization formed in compliance with the state land bank law enacted in 2019. Waterbury then passed the land bank ordinance in 21, the creation of the land bank, and the appointment of a board of directors appointed by the mayor and the board of aldermen. The Land Bank Board, in turn, appoints its officers and oversees its activities. After signing an MOU with the city, details of which appear in our presentation, the Land Bank was chartered in 2022 and went to work. The Land Bank is strengthen local neighborhoods by acquiring, remediating, and returning distressed properties to productive use, and in the process contain the ugly scourge of blight that poses a dire threat to the stability of our neighborhood and the viability of our distressed community. The Land Bank has a stable annual budget of about $500,000, which is expected to increase as available capital increases, funded primarily by the Harold Webster Smith Foundation and augmented by other generous funders who are also noted in the presentation. Our primary market is the 13 inner core neighborhoods closest to downtown, where the incidence of blighted properties is high. Within those 13 neighborhoods are 16 qualified census tracts, which are defined as tracts where 50% or more of the households have an income less than 60% of I, or have a poverty rate of more than 20%. Properly capitalized urban land banks support their municipalities' concerted efforts to slow and ultimately reverse the pernicious effects of blight that we're dealing with, including declining property values, increased crime, persistent public health and safety hazards, social erosion, and reduced revenue. Collaboratives can bend that blighted property curve by recycling vacant, abandoned, and dilapidated properties into multifamily homes owned by community residents or rented from vetted, responsible landlords. The tipping point is when the number of annually remediated parcels exceeds new designated blight parcels, effectively reducing the blight inventory. And we will measure this in Waterbury. The size of the blight threat in a given community can be broadly measured by tax liens. The Land Bank estimates that Waterbury has over 1,000 liened properties, of which several hundred have residential liens that exceed the appraised value. We've conducted an assessment of nearly 300 properties to determine their level of blight. Even without meaningful capital support to date, which is the lifeblood of any successful land bank, the Waterbury Land Bank has proven itself a worthy candidate for state funding, having acquired over 30 blighted properties in the last 2 years, thanks to its extraordinarily productive working relationship with the city. These properties are in various stages of remediation and disposition. The Land Bank expects to match that number in 2026. The $5 million grant will go a long way to bend that blighted property curve that I described, because it will directly enable remediation of more than 100 additional properties in 3 to 5 years. Regarding sources of capital, and as you'll see on the slide in a moment, in addition to the state grant request, Waterbury Land Bank was awarded over $1 million in a federal CDS grant with U.S. Senator Murphy's backing for a housing development project in our primary market. And recognizing the need for capital, the city of Waterbury has provided over $300,000 in capital support, in addition to more than $1 million in operating funds since inception. And the Land Bank is confident that the city will consider further capital support based on the results that we've achieved together to date. One final point, Waterbury Land Bank is much more than a passive intermediary that receives, cleans, and disposes of properties as directed by the city. With a sustainable capital base, our land bank will realize its potential as a proactive organization that city agencies and local housing advocates can rally around to advance the cause of affordable housing for all, working collaboratively and assertively to identify and remove blight influences, enforcement of property maintenance standards, increase and preserve home ownership while improving the quality of the housing stock, attract developers, funders, lenders, and investors, with residents and neighborhood council implement community-centered strategies that will arrest the downward spiral caused by urban blight. The state grant we seek will allow us to put action to words. That's our vision for the Waterbury Land Bank, and with your support, we can bring it home. And I thank you very much. And now I'd like to take just a minute, and I think Casey Larkin's going to help me with all my technical difficulties today, for which I again apologize. In 1 minute, I'm going to walk you through the slides, so they're available to you for your review, but I wanted you to see the work that's gone into organizing all this and presenting it in a clear and concise way. So starting with that first slide, Casey, that's the cover slide, of course, for today's hearing. And if you can move that forward. So to slide 2, right? Next slide. So this is the mission. I already described that. So move on. And then we talk about what the Land Bank Authority is. I described that. Then we introduce the board of directors. Continue to move forward if you would. Next slide. So this is the board of directors where I mentioned Fred Lucchi, who's the chair, and there are several other neighborhood council members and other people who care so much about the city of Waterbury serving on the board. And now, including Bob Polito and Dr. Gatling and others who you can see there. And then moving to the next slide, I wanted to pause here because this is the primary market area. One more slide. That's it. Nope. One more. That's it. So this is the story right here. A concentration of blighted properties in a portion of the city that is our primary market. And that's where I was citing the statistics from. And part of the value of the concentration is that the dollars are going into an area that has the most need for this type of investment, the most blight, and the most ability, therefore, to turn it around in heft. It makes a difference for the communities and for the neighborhoods. Moving forward. This is the history again, but you can have this for your review. This is the creation. I cited this very briefly as we went through. Continue to move forward. And then the progress. I was citing that as well, but you can follow it here, going from when we were organized in 2022 right up to what we're planning to do in 2026. Continuing forward. This is the acquisitions to date, the dispositions that have been made, and the various kinds of work and maintenance that the Waterbury Land Bank does. And then moving forward further. Now, sources and uses, again, this is important. We're asking for $5 million, and we wanted to cite that we're not relying solely on the state. We're doing everything we can to raise additional funds, whether it be operating capital, where I indicated we have a stable support cadre there, and expect to expand that as additional capital comes in, including federal capital, city capital, and then we think private capital comes in through developers who help us to remediate these properties. And moving forward, the benefit, again, bending the net new blighted property curve and establishing thriving neighborhoods in place of the challenges that exist there today. Moving forward. And go into the appendix just for a minute. I wanted to cite a couple of things in there if I could. First, this gives you an idea of who some of the supporters are of the foundation. Again, never ask someone to do something that others will not be willing to do themselves and support, so that you know it has legs and sustainability and stability and can realize its potential and deliver a high return on investment. Next slide. And then these are all the things that we were considering along the way to incorporation. Continuing on, please. And additional considerations, this is how we acquire and then dispose of property. So you can see how the Waterbury Land Bank operates if you want to, moving forward. And then these are our strategic priorities that we're pursuing. And again, forward. This is just a sample disposition. If you can look at how we acquire, remediate, and sell various parcels or vacant land, including through side lots that would enable better housing conditions and parking and things like that. Moving forward, sample of the properties you can see here, moving forward. And then again, the city has been a fantastic partner. I can't underscore that enough. That's why this works as well as it does, is that we have a shared vision as to what can be achieved in our community. And you can see so many different departments of the city are involved in supporting us. By the way, I also want to mention, has been our local legislative delegation, and I want to tip my hat to Joan Hartley as well as to Ron Napoli, and we very much appreciate your support and efforts. And then finally, here's the stipulations in the memorandum of understanding, which is, I think, pretty much what you would expect, but we want you to know this is a bona fide operating organization. And then moving forward and continuing. I think that's probably just about the end. So I'm going to stop there. I may not be able to hear you very well, but I appreciate your listening to me, even though you couldn't see me today. And Nancy and Fred would help me to the questions that you may have. Thank you for inviting us.
So Casey, just to clarify, this deck will be available to us as well in terms of testimony agenda. So Jim, thank you very much for the testimony. I think stepping back, we met about, I want to say 8 years ago in Greenwich with, was it Bob Petruccelli? When you
Yes,
were
I think
doing
that's right. And I do remember.
Right. On a road show about 8 years ago, I think you were around the state.
Yes, exactly. I was representing the Commission on Fiscal Stability and Economic Growth.
And I was still wet behind the ears and still a candidate. And I found it inspiring what you did there. And since then, you know, frankly, we're back on, you know, today, if you've been in and listening, we've been on wrestling with two issues. It's either been, you know, I'm pitching and pushing on economic development in Mystic, and that's returning state, you know, sales tax revenue to invest in more infrastructure. And here we're on the opposite side of the equation in another constructive effort, and this one with the land bank to put state capital to work to bring revitalized properties and put them back into economic use, to support our communities, Waterbury, et cetera, particularly with this land bank, to get people back on the tax rolls, to create opportunities to grow our cities. So one, you know, just as a comment, I want to thank you for your relentless promotion, effort, and strength in supporting the state. I think, you know, I'm signed on. I guess that would be my answer there. I don't know if there's any questions, but I'll turn it over to my co-chair.
Well, Mr. Co-Chair, I want to thank you very much. I really, really appreciate those comments. And of course, I followed your stellar career as well and enjoy talking with you from time to time. And I know the commitment that you have toward fiscal responsibility and economic and business growth and development. And you note there is a very high correlation between what we're trying to do in our communities and the impact that has on economic progress and opportunity, and ultimately job creation. If we create a better environment in which people can live, we create a healthier, more productive workforce as well. All these things are interrelated, and I appreciate your acknowledging that, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and this is Senator Hartley, and I want to thank you, Jim, for the presentation and also for your incredible dedication to this issue with your past endeavors, going back as far as Park Place, the Park Place renovation there, which was a milestone in the city of Waterbury, and that housing was all about getting people into home ownership, which has developed into an amazing community right in the core of the city. And then following on with that, one of the other big projects was the project off of Prospect Street, which I guess just was, maybe 2 years or so ago. Once again, completely renovating a totally blighted area, providing state-of-the-art housing, and helping to build communities in the core city. And now your work with the land bank is landmark, milestone. And this entity has been working relentlessly to try to get the resources and scale, and to do it in such a complete and thoughtful way, based upon, quite frankly, a deep data pool which your team has put together. So it's in a great position. We want to scale these kinds of things. This is, I think, a model for the entire state. And so we're glad to have the opportunity to showcase it here at the Commerce Committee, and to try to continue to support this. You know, not to say that we don't have a lot of other competing interests, but this certainly it comes onto the front burner in terms of economic revitalization, bringing properties back onto the tax roll and addressing the all-important and elusive challenge that we have with regard to housing, and particularly in many of our urban areas. So I just want to thank you, and yes, if we can have the benefit of your slide deck for those members. It's been kind of a crazy day myself. My apologies, going back and forth between actually 2 other committees, but we want our members to have the benefit of your testimony and also that slide deck, so that would be appreciated. And once again, we will continue this conversation. Thank you very much, Jim and Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions from committee members? Seeing none, then I'll move on to any other business before the committee.
I'm sorry, Representative Meskers. We have Fred Ludecki, also from the Land Bank, who is here but hasn't spoken.
Well, Fred, would you like to speak? I'll invite you now. Fred, all you need to do is unmute, because I can see you, but I can't hear you. You're still muted, Fred.
There we are.
Bingo.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I can't really add too much to what Jim Smith has already said. He's been such a strong supporter and really the originator of the land bank idea in Connecticut. And I'd just like to reiterate his acknowledgement of the support we've received from the city of Waterbury. Just a couple of points I guess I would add with respect to our business model. We are not a city department. As has been stated, we're an independent organization. And we hope to leverage any state funds that we have through the private sector. We, of course, are going to, consistent with the land bank legislation, we have the opportunity to vet applicants for ownership of these properties. So we will endeavor to make sure that mortgages are put in place for these properties so that we can recapture the majority of the funds required for initial investment. As you know, the cost of new construction probably exceeds the market value of these properties, and so we'll have to deal with that. But we hope to recapture as much of these funds as we can and make them available for investment in additional projects. So we would extend the benefit of whatever funds we receive up front. The other point I would make is that, and I think Jim touched on this, we feel it's very important that beyond simply restoring properties, putting them back on the tax rolls, we're trying to stabilize these neighborhoods. And to the extent possible, we are encouraging owner occupancy as much as possible. It's not always possible in the case of multi-unit structures, which may be the highest and best use for some of these properties, but wherever possible, we are going to virtually insist upon presenting the opportunity for an individual to step up from being a renter and becoming a property owner, possibly a two-unit dwelling where they might achieve some passive income to help pay for their mortgage and so on. But we're trying to upgrade the citizenry and stabilize these neighborhoods in addition to simply putting properties back on the tax roll. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about the Waterbury Land Bank. As you can see, we're very excited about this, about the potential of this project in the city of Waterbury. We have a very capable, engaged board of directors and energetic executive director in Nancy McMillan, and we are committed to moving forward with this to the betterment of the city of Waterbury. Thank you again.
So, thank you. I stand, or sit corrected, Fred. I appreciate the observation and the commitment, because I think that's foundational and fundamental. The idea of finding renter owner occupied buildings to make that commitment to the neighborhood. You are 100% right. I was looking at a more broad-based basis of just, lifting up the municipality with the tax base. But you're right, the commitment to the neighborhood, the commitment to vitality, the sense of place and sense of caring comes with owner occupancy. And you're promoting people, you're basically giving people a leg up in society by providing them with this. So I think I stand corrected, at the margin embarrassed, and salute the work you're doing. So I want to congratulate you. I think your advocacy in those points are both poignant and super well intentioned. So thank you very much. And now I have my co-chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Fred. Thanks for being with us. And by the way, I love the backdrop because it's quintessential New England. So I first of all want to thank you for your long involvement in betting in the city of Waterbury for years, going back even as far as the Oversight Board, where you basically devoted a good part of your life to that challenge, and then have all of your service that has continued, and now most recently as the chair of the board of directors of the Waterbury Land Bank. And it's been a journey, but I think the organization that you have built with Jim Smith and Nancy is a very solid one. Your model of revolving loan basically answers our questions about sustainability. This is not a one-shot. This is has endurance for over the years, and the model of the path to ownership, creating that path to ownership. Which is so elusive to so many individuals, but so life-changing once they are able to embrace it. First is being perhaps, a renter in a property with the option to be the owner. So this public-private model, I think, is so important. Government does not have the wherewithal to do all things that we need to do, and were it not for entities like the Waterbury Land Bank and leadership of their executive team, including yourself, that we would really be at a great loss. So I'm looking forward to the continuation of this conversation, but I just want to recognize the incredible model that you have stood up, and how we continue to scale that. But thanks for being with us, and stay warm.
Okay, I believe we've completed now the speaker list, unless I'm corrected yet again. So I've done it. Okay. So if there's no other business before us today, I'll announce the adjournment of the public hearing. Thank you all very much.